The police tried to cancel the concert in the middle. John Lennon did it, and the crowd froze. New York City, August 1972. Central Park. The vast green heart of the city, usually a sanctuary, was now a cauldron of simmering unrest. John Lennon stood on a makeshift stage, guitar in hand, facing a sea of thousands. This wasn't a typical concert. This was a protest, a rally against the Vietnam War, a defiant stand against the Nixon administration's relentless campaign to deport him. The air was thick with the scent of marijuana, sweat, and the palpable tension of a city on edge. The early 70s were a fractured time in America. The war raged, political divisions ran deep, and John Lennon, the outspoken anti-war activist, was a lightning rod for both adoration and intense animosity. He was still fighting his deportation battle, a relentless campaign to silence his voice. He knew he was under constant surveillance, that every public appearance was scrutinized, and the police presence was heavy, their stern faces and riot gear a stark contrast to the hopeful faces in the crowd. Yoko Ono stood beside him, a defiant figure in her own right, her presence often provoking strong reactions. Their music, their politics, their very existence as a couple challenged many conventions. As they launched into Give Peace a Chance, the anthem of the anti-war movement, thousands of voices joined in, a collective prayer for a better world. The energy was electric, and a powerful demonstration of unity and dissent. But not everyone was there to sing. From the periphery of the crowd, a phalanx of police officers began to move, their faces grim, their movements deliberate. They were led by Captain Thomas O'Malley, a hardened veteran of the NYPD who saw the rally not as a peaceful protest, but as a potential riot, a breeding ground for anarchy. O'Malley had received orders. The city administration, under pressure from Washington, wanted the rally shut down. They saw John Lennon as a dangerous agitator, his influence a threat to the established order. As John sang, his voice soaring over the crowd, O'Malley and his men pushed through the throng, heading directly for the stage. Their intention was clear: to cancel the concert, to disperse the crowd, to silence John Lennon. The crowd, sensing the impending confrontation, began to murmur. The singing faltered. A collective gasp rippled through the thousands. The police were coming. John saw them, all a wall of blue uniforms, their faces set, their purpose unmistakable. He felt a familiar cold fury rise within him. What happened next would last mere seconds, but those seconds would reveal the raw courage of a man who refused to be intimidated, the fragile line between freedom and oppression, and the profound power of a single, defiant act. The police were trying to cancel the concert in the middle, and John Lennon was about to do something that would make the entire crowd freeze. By 1972, John Lennon was a man living under siege. His move to New York City in 1971 had been an attempt to escape the suffocating pressures of London and the lingering shadows of the Beatles' breakup. He sought a new beginning with Yoko, a place where they could freely pursue their art and activism. But America, under President Richard Nixon, proved to be an even more hostile environment. John's outspoken opposition to the Vietnam War and his association with radical figures like Jerry Rubin and Abbie Hoffman, and his immense influence on young people made him a prime target for the government. The FBI, at Nixon's direct order, launched a relentless campaign to deport him. Every phone call was tapped, every movement monitored, every public statement scrutinized for any legal pretext to send him back to England. This constant surveillance, this feeling of being hunted, took a toll. John was often paranoid, distrustful, and deeply aware of the target painted on his back. He knew that his words, his actions, even his very presence provoked strong reactions. The Central Park rally was meant to be a moment of triumph, a demonstration of his enduring power to connect with people, to inspire change. It was a benefit for a cause he deeply believed in, a platform to amplify the voices of the anti-war movement. He had faced down threats before, but the direct confrontation with law enforcement in the middle of a peaceful assembly was a new level of intimidation. Captain Thomas O'Malley, the police officer leading the charge, represented the establishment's fear of dissent. He saw the rally as a threat to public order, a breeding ground for radical ideas. His orders were clear: shut it down. He likely viewed John Lennon not as an artist, but as a dangerous political figure, an outsider stirring up trouble. No, he had no intention of being swayed by music or celebrity. The atmosphere in Central Park was now charged. The unspoken question hung heavy. Would John back down? Would the crowd disperse? Or would this peaceful protest erupt into chaos? John had used his name, his platform, to fight for peace, for civil rights, for his own right to remain in America. To let this rally be shut down, to allow the voices of thousands to be silenced by force, would be a betrayal of everything he believed in. But he couldn't let it stand. He couldn't let that kind of casual oppression go unchallenged, not in his presence, not when he had a voice that could cut through the noise of the crowd and demand attention. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any of the exclusive content that's coming up. And while you're there, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. As Captain O'Malley and his officers reached the edge of the stage, their faces stern, their hands on their batons, the music died. The crowd's collective voice, once a powerful chorus, dissolved into a nervous murmur. The air crackled with anticipation, a silent standoff between authority and defiance. John Lennon, however, did not flinch. He did not drop his guitar. He did not lower his gaze. Instead, he stepped forward, placing himself directly between the approaching officers and Yoko, who stood a few feet behind him. His eyes, usually filled with a mischievous glint, were now cold, unwavering, and intensely focused on Captain O'Malley. "Captain," John's voice cut through the silence, calm but laced with an unmistakable steel, "is there a problem here?" O'Malley, momentarily taken aback by John's directness and lack of fear, hesitated. He had expected resistance, perhaps a plea, but not this quiet, unyielding challenge. He was used to crowds scattering, to celebrities deferring. "Mr. Lennon," O'Malley replied, his voice gruff, "this assembly is unauthorized. We have orders to disperse the crowd and shut down this performance." He gestured vaguely at the stage, his disdain for the rally evident. "Unauthorized?" John retorted, a faint, sardonic smile playing on his lips. "This is Central Park, Captain, a public space, and this is a peaceful assembly, a demonstration of free speech. Are you saying that in America, people don't have the right to sing for peace?" His words, amplified by the stage microphones, echoed across the park. The crowd, emboldened by John's defiance, began to stir. A few shouts of "Let them sing" and "Peace now" rippled through the thousands. O'Malley's face hardened. I'm saying you're creating a public disturbance, Mr. Lennon, and if you don't comply, we will be forced to take action. You and your associates will be arrested. The threat hung heavy in the air. Arrest, deportation, the very real possibility of being silenced forever. Yoko placed a hand on John's arm, a silent plea for caution. But John's gaze remained fixed on O'Malley. He knew this was a test, a moment that would define not just the rally, but his ongoing fight for his right to stay in America. He would not give them the satisfaction of seeing him break. He took a deep breath, his grip tightening on his guitar. The crowd watched, frozen, waiting for his next move. The fate of the concert, and perhaps the spirit of the protest, hung in the balance. The standoff stretched, and a silent battle of wills under the late afternoon sun. Captain O'Malley, accustomed to immediate compliance, found himself facing an immovable object. John Lennon, despite the immense pressure, refused to back down. "Captain," John said, his voice now softer, but no less firm. "We are here for peace. We are here to sing for the children, for the soldiers, for a world without war. Is that a crime?" He then turned slightly, addressing the crowd, his voice resonating with a quiet power. "Chase, are we disturbing the peace, New York, or are we simply asking for it?" The crowd roared its answer. "No. Sing for peace. Let John sing." O'Malley's jaw tightened. The situation was escalating, not de-escalating. He had orders, but he also had thousands of witnesses and a global icon refusing to be silenced. The optics of arresting John Lennon in Central Park in the middle of a peace rally would be a public relations nightmare. He exchanged a tense glance with his second-in-command, Sergeant Davies, who subtly shook his head. Davies, a younger officer, understood the potential fallout. This wasn't just a street corner arrest. This was John Lennon. John, sensing the hesitation, pressed his advantage. He turned back to O'Malley, his eyes now holding a hint of the old Beatle charm, but still unwavering. "Captain, I understand you have a job to do, but so do we. Our job is to imagine a better world. And sometimes that involves singing about it, loudly." He then did something unexpected. He slowly, deliberately raised his guitar. The crowd held its breath. Was he going to smash it? Was he going to make a dramatic gesture of defiance? Instead, he strummed a single clear chord. The opening notes of Imagine. The sound, pure and resonant, cut through the tension. It was a challenge, an invitation, and a statement all at once. He wasn't just singing a song, he was invoking a philosophy. O'Malley's face remained impassive, and but a flicker of something, frustration, perhaps even a grudging respect, crossed his features. He knew he was in a losing battle. To physically remove John Lennon now would risk turning a peaceful protest into a full-blown riot, a media circus that would only amplify Lennon's message. The other officers stood rigid, their eyes darting between their captain and the defiant rock star. The crowd, sensing the shift, began to hum the melody of Imagine, a quiet, collective act of solidarity. And John looked at O'Malley one last time, a silent question in his eyes. "Are you truly going to stop this?" The captain, after a long, agonizing moment, finally made his decision. He gave a curt, almost imperceptible nod to his men. "Stand down," he muttered, his voice barely audible. "Just monitor the situation." The officers, relieved, slowly began to retreat, melting back into the periphery of the crowd. The tension on stage dissipated like smoke. The threat had passed. John Lennon, without saying another word, turned to his band. He nodded, and then, with a renewed sense of purpose, he launched into Imagine, his voice stronger, clearer, more defiant than ever before. The crowd, which had been frozen in anticipation, erupted, not in chaos, but in a thunderous roar of applause, cheers, and a collective joyous singing that filled Central Park, a powerful testament to the triumph of peace over intimidation. The sound of Imagine swelled, more thousands of voices joining John's, creating a powerful, almost spiritual chorus that resonated through Central Park. The police, now relegated to the sidelines, watched as the crowd, far from dispersing, grew even more unified, more energized. John Lennon, his eyes shining with conviction, sang every word with a profound sense of purpose. He wasn't just performing, he was leading. He was conducting a symphony of peace, a defiant anthem against the forces that sought to silence him. Yoko, and standing beside him, her hand now firmly in his, sang along, her presence a silent testament to their shared struggle. The climax wasn't a violent confrontation. It was the complete and utter capitulation of authority in the face of unwavering conviction. Captain O'Malley, standing at a distance, watched the scene unfold. He saw not a riot, but a powerful demonstration of collective will. He saw John Lennon, not as a dangerous agitator, but as a man who had, with nothing but his voice and his guitar, disarmed an entire police force. The crowd, once frozen in fear, was now a vibrant, swaying mass of humanity, their faces illuminated by hope and a shared sense of triumph. They had witnessed a moment of pure, unadulterated courage. They had seen their hero stand up to power and win. When Imagine finally ended, the applause was deafening, a sustained roar that lasted for what felt like an eternity. John and Yoko stood on stage, hand in hand, bowing to the appreciative crowd. Their faces, though weary, held a quiet triumph. They had faced down intimidation. They had stood their ground. And in doing so, they had not only defended their right to free speech, but had also inspired an entire audience to choose understanding over anger and unity over division. The climax wasn't just the music, it was the profound shift in the collective consciousness of Central Park. It was the moment when oppression was confronted, and the power of conviction prevailed. The rally continued, transformed. The remaining songs were imbued with a new intensity, a collective catharsis. The audience, now united, cheered not just for the music, but for the courage they had witnessed. The incident in Central Park, though not widely reported in the mainstream press with its full dramatic weight, became a legendary story within New York's activist circles and among John Lennon's dedicated fan base. It was a testament to his character, a powerful act of defiance that spoke volumes about his unwavering commitment to justice and his profound belief in peace. Captain Thomas O'Malley, after the incident, faced internal scrutiny. While no formal charges were filed, the public nature of the confrontation and the involvement of John Lennon ensured that his actions were scrutinized. He was quietly reassigned to a less visible beat, nor a subtle but clear message from his superiors that such high-profile attempts to suppress peaceful assembly would not be tolerated. The experience left him with a grudging respect for Lennon and a deeper understanding of the complexities of public order. For John, the incident was a raw, visceral reminder of the constant battle against ignorance and hatred. It left unseen scars, a deeper understanding of the venom that lurked beneath the surface of society. But it also reinforced his belief in the power of his voice, his platform, to challenge injustice. It fueled his activism, his determination to use his art as a weapon for peace and equality. The victory in Central Park, however small, was a significant boost in his ongoing deportation battle, demonstrating his widespread public support. For Yoko Ono, That day was a profound affirmation. John's immediate and unwavering defense, his public declaration of their shared vision, and solidified their bond even further. It was a moment that transcended the personal, becoming a symbol of their shared struggle against prejudice and misunderstanding. She continued her artistic journey with renewed vigor, knowing she had an unshakable ally. The echoes of that day resonated not just in the lives of John and Yoko, but in the broader movement for peace and social justice. It showed that even in the darkest times, a single act of courage, a single voice raised in defiance, could inspire thousands. John Lennon, the rebel, the provocateur, had once again turned adversity into a moment of profound artistic and human connection. He had shown that true strength wasn't in fighting back with aggression, but in standing firm with dignity and letting the truth speak for itself. The scars were unseen, but the lesson was clear. Oppression, when truly confronted, could be disarmed by courage and conviction. New York City, December 8, 1980. John Lennon was murdered. His voice silenced, but his legacy and the story of his unwavering commitment to justice continued to resonate. The incident in Central Park in 1972, though a quiet moment in the grand narrative of his life, became a powerful testament to his character. It revealed a man who, despite his own flaws and struggles, possessed an unshakable commitment to equality and a profound courage in the face of oppression. Yoko Ono, in the decades that followed, became the fierce guardian of John's legacy, ensuring his music and his message continued to reach the world. She also continued her own artistic journey, her work finally receiving the critical recognition it deserved, a testament to her own resilience and vision. The story of the police trying to cancel the concert in the middle and John Lennon's powerful response is not found in every official biography. It's a hidden truth, a whisper in the annals of rock and roll history. But for those who know it, it speaks volumes about the man John Lennon truly was. Not just a rock star, not just an activist, but a deeply courageous, profoundly committed human being who would not tolerate injustice, no matter the personal cost. He didn't just stop an arrest. He transformed an entire park. He didn't just defy an officer. He reaffirmed his message of peace and justice in the most powerful way possible. And in doing so, he left an unseen ripple of change that slowly, subtly, began to shift perceptions, and proving that sometimes the most powerful statements are delivered not with anger, but with unwavering conviction and profound love for humanity. Central Park still stands, a symbol of freedom and public assembly. The echoes of that day have faded into history, but the echo of John Lennon's defiance, his quiet courage, and his profound commitment to justice still resonates, a timeless reminder that true strength lies not in tolerating oppression, but in confronting it and letting the unfinished song of freedom play on. The official police reports of that day might only mention a minor street disturbance, a footnote in history. But the true story isn't in the reports, it's in the memory of a split second, a silenced order, a defiant song, and the profound silence that followed, as an entire crowd froze. The end. If this story about courage, defiance, and the power of standing up against injustice moved you, subscribe and hit that like button. Would share this with someone who needs to hear that true strength lies in upholding dignity and equality for all. What moment taught you the most about the power of confronting prejudice or abuse of power? Tell us in the comments below.